Hello, my name is Fred Dodson. I've been a success coach of 30 plus years, and my message here is that ADHD and dyslexia do not exist. And I realize that's a supposedly controversial statement that instantly makes me censorship worthy, but I'm going to say it. Why do I say that with such confidence? Why do I say something that contradicts most of modern drug-based medicine? Why do I contradict something that everybody knows, that so many parents grapple with? It's because of my experiences in coaching. Parents have sent their kids to me. Parents have sent themselves to me to grapple with their ADHD and dyslexia. And I found, and they've also found, that for some reason in my presence, the so-called ADHD either disappears entirely, never existed, never was, or reduces significantly. So what's so special about my presence? Am I some kind of enlightened being? No. It's very simple and very easy. It's to do with pressure and expectation. Okay, parents and school teachers exert a certain expectational pressure upon the child, and then later perhaps adult. And the child and the adult with ADHD and dyslexia also exert that pressure upon themselves. They internalize the external pressure. They buy into it. Gotta do it now. Gotta learn it. Gotta spell it correctly. Must. And if you absolutely must, guess what's gonna happen? What happens to things that are squashed under pressure? And I realize there's a lot of arguments coming up now in many people, but this, but that, but that, but that. But we tried it without pressure. Well, as long as you tried it, you're still exerting pressure, aren't you? Have you ever tried not trying anything? Have you ever considered letting a person be and develop their own curiosity? You see, ADHD and dyslexia are modern words invented by the drug-based medicine, which is called normal medicine, and non-drug-based medicine is called alternative medicine, which is totally crazy. So traditional medicine is called alternative medicine, and drug-based medicine is called regular medicine. Anyway, the Big Pharma, which are the big farmers, they invented these words to sell certain drugs. But the attention deficit, it really comes through the combination of certain factors, which Big Pharma knows about and they do nothing to address. Instead, they file lawsuits against people who say anything against it or suggest alternate methods. Okay, it's really one of the big crimes, one of many crimes committed by Big Pharma, the big farmers. It really is. Okay, I'm not just. This is not just. People say, well, when you say that, you're talking like paranoid. Well, it's not paranoid at all, because I've experienced the non-existence of ADHD and dyslexia several times. I've coached with several ADHD people and kids, and I've solved it. It's fairly easy to solve, okay? So one of the factors is pressure, not letting someone make mistakes. And not letting people make mistakes is one of the big problems in society. If they're not free to make mistakes, they're not really free at all, are they? If they're not free to make the wrong decision or say the wrong word, they can't develop and grow. So when I teach adults or kids, I used to also teach languages very quickly. I taught people to learn a language in 6 days. And when I say that, people are like, this guy's insane. He's delusional, blah, 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 blah. But I have, and I've written a whole book about it called How to Learn a Language in 6 Days. And there are more than 5,000 people who can attest to the fact that I taught them one language or another. Anyway, one of the factors is nutrition, what you give your children. And Big Pharma knows that, because the people who own the Big Pharma companies are the same ones who run the processed food companies. So with one they make you sick, and with the other they provide the cure. It's an incredible scam, and it should have been an indicator that the people running things do not have your best interests at heart in any way. They have profit at heart, but more than profit, they're also actively undermining the human being. All right, so what you give your kids, the processed foods, the sugars, and then you're surrounded by radiation, basically, if you live in a city, instead of by fresh air and sunshine. There's so many factors, really, and then we wonder why our kids have trouble focusing. Okay, we force them to focus on things that are not true, and kids have good intuition, and they know that. What do you think is going to happen if you force a child to focus on information that is neither useful nor true? And there's so much in your school books that isn't true. A kid sees that, and then the teacher says, you got to learn this. You got to learn this false information. It's really a crime against children. That's why we need public school reform or homeschooling, okay, in many places. Now, I'm not saying teachers are bad. Teachers are doing their best to accommodate the system. Okay, it's the government that wants things to be a certain way that is not in the interest of humankind. Okay, whatever happened to learning useful things in school, true things that will empower you and make you self-sufficient? Okay, so good attention, you'll notice that your kids or the adult have good attention, no ADHD whatsoever, when they're involved in something that interests them. Why does it interest them? Maybe because it's true. Maybe because it's fun. Maybe because it's interesting. Or maybe because it's presented in an interesting way. You know how much difference the teacher makes, the presence of the teacher? That's why a lot of kids come to me and they get along, we get along, and they don't have the issue. And I'm like, okay, let's do this now, and they can do it just fine. And then I talk to the parents, and they tell me, well, he's never been able to do that, you know. And sometimes I have to record them doing it because the parents won't believe it. Record them spelling the word correctly, right? So non-ADHD means being able to become immersed in something and interested and being able to take your time, expanding time without pressure. You know, if you can't spell a word, dyslexia, if trouble spelling and writing, well, let's take our time. Okay, let's examine this word. Why not take 10 minutes for a word? But society no longer has that time. It's all rush, rush, rush. But haste makes waste, and it's making a waste of many of our children. It's laying them to waste because everything has to be, you know, let's go, let's do it. Why not take 10 minutes of time instead of wasting 10 minutes on your smartphone? Why not invest 10 minutes into a word with your child? What's the impatience? Your child feels the impatience of a teacher, of the system. The system is impatient, okay? Got to get through it quickly. Why? And once your child knows how to slow down and take things piece by piece, learning will increase, and then your child can speed up. But they speed up on their own and in their own tempo until they become super expert and super quick. And it's this way with everything, really. Everybody's experienced the speeding up and slowing down phenomena. You know, you go learn dancing, for example, and if there's an error in your dance, the only way to correct that is by slowing down or stopping and really taking the time to look what you keep repeating and keep doing. And then you consciously do that, and you consciously do what you prefer instead. And then you slowly speed up with a correct move. And then you can dance again without the error. So speeding up and slowing down. And if that process is arrested or disrupted, a child never learns to observe, to consciously do the error, consciously do the preferred. That's how to learn. And in fact, the entire way school is set up actually disrupts rapid and quick learning. You know that children would learn much more quickly, for example, if they actually do and practice the things being talked about. Or if it's theoretical stuff that you can't do, and there's way too much theoretical stuff that you'll never need, never use, okay? If there's theoretical stuff, what you could do is you could use multiple choice questions, which activates a child's intuition. Even if they've never learned something about a thing, they'll get many of these multiple choice questions right on the first go, just through intuition. And then whatever's left, you can teach about. There are so many ways to go about good teaching. But today, let's just focus on ADHD and dyslexia. Okay, there needs to be a patience and an allowance from the teacher and the parents to make mistakes and to be attentive, unconditional attention. You need to examine your own attention behavior because your child copies from you. I had someone in anti-ADHD training the other day. He claimed to have ADHD and also dyslexia, an adult. And I had him do several exercises. One of them was to walk down a flight of stairs that would have taken about 15 seconds to walk down. And I said, I want you to walk down this flight of stairs, not in 15 seconds, but in 10 minutes. But the catch is, your movement must be continual. You can't stop at any time. So what that required of him was enormous patience and enormous focus. And he did it. And I said, well, a person with ADHD as you claim you have and your wife claims you have, can't do that. So why are you telling me you have ADHD? It was almost like he had never tried before, never slowed down to that point before. He was walking the stairs in slow motion. The next exercise was ask him to gather a bunch of rocks and make a pattern in a certain space. And he did that with utmost patience and slowness. Next exercise was I had him walk blindfolded around the entire property. It's a property he didn't know. He walked it, and I guided him. And for that, he needed 100% trust. He needed to slow down. He needed to be fully conscious at all times, which is really all the opposite of ADHD anyway. We did more exercises on spelling, on pronunciation, dyslexia-related exercises, going deeply into a word, what a word means, why it's spelled in a complicated way, all kinds of stuff, okay? But the main point was the humorous and appreciative presence of the teacher, okay? No judgment whatsoever, no pressure whatsoever. I was actually scheduling to do these exercises for 8 hours, and we only needed about 1 hour. Okay, but I had space and patience for 8 hours, but we didn't need that. Because I had so much patience, we reduced the time. And people with impatience, they increase the time because they create pressure. And through pressure, we get mistakes. And that does not only apply to ADHD and dyslexia, it applies to anything, you know. With certain people I was with, I always used to drop things. Drop a glass of coffee. Drop a cup of coffee. Drop a vase. And with the people I am with now as friends, I don't drop anything. It's because of the people, the presence of the people, their view of you, or the tension they create in the space, in the room, with their attitude, with their tense attitude. So parents are not going to like to hear this, but it's got a lot to do with you. You need to take responsibility for the attitude and atmosphere you're creating. If you're a tense person, what do you think is going to happen? If you're constantly angry, what do you think is going to happen? You can't hide that. Hiding that is pointless because children can feel. Or if there's no parent-child relationship and you have so-called dyslexia or ADHD, there's somebody else in your field pressuring you, or it's you pressuring yourself. And that's why I talk so much about relaxation, about taking walks, about visiting flotation tanks, about meditation, about prayer, about all these things that create relief. ADHD and dyslexia do not exist.